Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
All right, Indiana Fever fans, this is your warning slash prep slash pep talk for the shortened, condensed, maybe frenetic free agency period that is coming up. All the WNBA players are feeling it. They're looking at the way these salaries have jumped. Every single one of them is going to want to be overpaid. Okay? The free agency winners, team wise, the franchises, the teams that want to build a winner. That may not be apparent initially by the splashy signings. You know, this team signed so and they put together this roster. And there may be a lot more as to which team does a better job at managing the cap. Not all about big signings. It's going to be about good rosters. Man, I was thinking about this the other day. I did a video on my Philly channel about the Eagles, Howie Roseman. We have the best GM in the business, maybe in sports. One of the things he does extremely well is manage the salary cap. One thing that the smart organizations in the WNBA should have done to prepare is go to the best GMs and best organizations in the NFL, in the NBA, especially when it comes to sustained winning and managing a salary cap, and talk to them, pick their brain, get consulting, pay for it if you have to, but figure out exactly how it is you need to put together these rosters. Now, there are some unique things, obviously, in the WA in terms of the sport, but also just in general structuring salaries. You know, how many do you want to pay, at the top, like say the supermax or the max versus, the average and below average, and how you're going to fill out a roster so that you have the right talent in order to go win games, not just this season, but so you don't, tie your arm behind your back, shoot yourself in the foot, however you want to put it, going forward for the next season as well. So it's going to be interesting to check that out as well. Because listen to this, man. Like, I just saw where that the Aces have already made it clear Asia Wilson is going to get the Supermax. And look, man, I have problems with Asia Wilson, the human being, but she deserves the Supermax. And there's no doubt she has taken less money multiple years in Las Vegas in order to win. And I respect that. So if you can get her paid now, go get her paid. Of course, that impacts how the rest of the roster is. So I'm thinking maybe they already have it in their mind that, a Jewel Lloyd or a Chelsea Gray or someone like that is not going to get re signed. Because the reality with these numbers, if a Supermax 1.4 million, the salary cap right around 7 million. You're looking at 20% for one supermax signing for a roster when you want to put together a roster of 12 players. That leaves some juggling for you to do. What kind of roster do you want to put together? You get two supermax players, which by the way could be something the Fever are looking at. Caitlin Clark's going to get one after next season, or AB is going to get one after next season. Caitlin Clark's going to want one the year after that. So then what kind of choices are you making? What kind of players are you putting around those players? I mean, two supermaxes is 40% of the cap. That's 2.8 million of the 7. You got 10 other players now to sign with the remaining 4.2 million. The average for them then is below the league average for the player, right? So it's how are you going to juggle this? Now, remember last season, this is important. The Indiana Fever, with everything they had with the injuries and this, that they were signing players who hadn't even, or who weren't even, now they had been in the league, but they weren't in the league at the time, obviously. 3 of them, players that I had recommended the previous off season for the Indiana Fever to get. They happened to get them in this season in these situations. Aerial Powers, Ari McDonald, Odyssey Sims, all players that had a huge impact on the Indiana Fever being a play, a bounce, a call away from the WNBA finals, right? For me, they did exactly what I expected that team would do given that roster, right? Might have surprised a lot of other people. It didn't surprise me, and I said it at the time because the truth is there's not a lot of difference between good, solid WNBA players that can be on a championship winning roster and players who are out of the league but have been in the league for whatever reason, like the players I just mentioned, all solid players, just weren't enough spots, or there were other things going around where people were getting slots instead of them, and that shouldn't happen. So, as I mentioned, the smart teams, They want to be successful, hopefully. And look, do it now. It might be a little late, but man, I'd be making calls, calling up people in the NBA, calling up people in the NFL, calling up Howie Roseman, consultant. Hey, how do we handle all these players who want to get overpaid? Because it's going to be tempting with all, you're never going to have all these big name stars out of free agency at the same time like you have right now. But the team that looks like it owns free agency now may not ultimately be the winner of this first season of the new CBA in terms of setting up a franchise or organization for sustained success. The way, hey, props to them, the Las Vegas Aces have had before this. Like I mentioned, I see it every day. Phil in Philadelphia with the Eagles, we have the best GM in the business, and the best cap guy in the business. Although he's got great people around him too. Obviously, he doesn't do it all himself. The Philadelphia Eagles are a team that came off a not fulfilling season. Didn't go the way we wanted. They came out with guys that were going to go into free agency that were important. We had a lot of questions and holes and no cap space. We let guys go, big names, important names. But Howie said, hey, this is what I've set to pay this player. They go and get, 50% more than that, like Jalen Phillips, who were set to pay $20 million a year. Carolina Panthers offered him 30. Howie, as much as we want Jalen Phillips here, Howie was not going to blow up the team to overpay Jalen Phillips. And then we're freeing up. We're now sixth, by the way, most cap space in the NFL, and that is after a bunch of signings that have filled holes in the roster for the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie is always willing to let players go who can get dramatically overpaid elsewhere. I mean, this is the way he looks at it. This is his philosophy, like he did, I said, with three key pieces of the defense. Best defense in the NFL, let three pieces go because paying them was just going to blow up the roster. It was not going to lead to sustained winning. And then he rebuilds through the draft. And he takes stars that get paid a lot of money and he surrounds them with good, young talent that I guess you consider role players, but in the system and the guys that surround them, they flourish, they excel, and yeah, eventually they'll probably go get paid big time somewhere else. But Howie just repeats that. So all of this to with the Indiana Fever, biggest question I think on everyone's mind, Kelsey Mitchell. Well, I lean toward her staying just because of how much Stephanie White loves her and wants to make her the focal point, the number one option, the player on the Indiana Fever. And Kelsey Mitchell loves that. And that's no shade to Kelsey Mitchell. Respect. She might feel like she's going to get that here and she won't get that elsewhere. So maybe she'll take a little less, but you got to think Kelsey Mitchell is looking to get at least the max, if not the super max. And then next year you'd have to pay Aliyah Boston the max. And then next year you'd have to pay Caitlin Clark the max. And I believe their salaries that are going to bump up are going to take up more of this year's salary cap than what their rookie contracts were taking up percentage wise, right? So for me, if you're trying to do this the right way, you might consider letting Kelsey Mitchell go. There's a lot of shooting guards out there. And when you have Caitlin Clark, she elevates the play of everyone else, right? I mean, you just need a shooting guard who is going to defend, is going to work on that with you, and can hit an open shot because Caitlin Clark will get her an open shot. So I think there are going to be solid options. And, unfortunately, Ari McDonald's hurt. But there will be maybe it's Aerial Powers, maybe it's Odyssey Sims, but there will be solid shooting guards available that will take a lot less money than Kelsey Mitchell will. And then that can go to other players because while I'm not saying she's worth it, Sophie Cunningham, again, she's going to be looking for more than I think she probably should get in terms of her value. And that's not a knock on her. That's just the reality. And that's what, is somebody going to throw more money at Lexi Hull than she's worth? And then do the Indiana Fever go ahead and overpay? But then that lessens what you can do elsewhere. So for me, again, and this is, I'm sure I'm influenced by the fact that the success we see with Howie Roseman here in Philly is you got to think about the next year. The key for me for the Indiana Fever is keeping Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston together. So you have to look at that now because length of contract's also going to matter, right? Like if you say you want to lock up Kelsey Mitchell on a long term, maybe you want to sign her to a 3-year deal so you don't have to go through this again. And she wants So maybe it was supermax for a year, or you could sign it for the max and give that to over 3 years. Well, that means in those 3 years, you're going to have to pay Aliyah Boston, and then you're going to have to pay Caitlin Clark, right? So those things have to be taken into consideration. So when you have Aliyah Boston, and also don't forget Kelsey Mitchell. Now, Kelsey Mitchell's not over the hill. Don't get me wrong, but Kelsey Mitchell's not young, right? Aliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, still on rookie deals. That's your future. Those are the two players you're building around, and then you get solid to above average role players that you don't overpay, and you get depth, and you get players who can run, and you get players who can defend, and you get players who can space the court and hit open shot. And you go get players like, I don't know, Ray Burrow. You go get players like Azora Stevens that you put around these key pieces of Leah Boston and Caitlin Clark. That for me, and I got to go through all these and look at names and possibilities. And look, it's also crazy. Everyone just might resign with their own team. But if they don't, these are the things I think the Indiana Fever have to be thinking about. And I should have said this at the beginning because not everyone gets to the end. Thank you if you do. This is no shade at Kelsey Mitchell, man. I'm looking at it from a team perspective of building a winner and winning championships. Look, Philadelphia Eagles just lost Kobe Dean. He is a fan favorite. The fans love him. He loves Philadelphia. He loves the fans. Sometimes the business gets in the way of that. And given all the other contracts and the roster and everything else, the Eagles couldn't pay him what he could go get on the open market to such a significant enough degree that he had to go see what was out there. And he's speaking of Vegas, he's playing for the Raiders. And sometimes you get lucky and you get our tight end led the NFL in touchdown receptions for tight ends last year with 11. He took about half of what he could get on the open market to remain in Philadelphia in the hopes of winning a Super Bowl. So you get that sometimes too. We'll see. Those are the things you gotta work on. So it's going to really be interesting to see how each team decides to put a roster together with the new salary structure. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know who you's like, I have to see this player on the Indiana Fever. This is who I want around Caitlin Clark. Who do you like? Well, I like them, but they can go if it means winning. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I will talk to you later. Shout out to the 19.